Another day, another preseason game, and yet more injuries for the Sabres as we hit a week until the regular season. We'll talk about it coming up here in the Locked On Sabres podcast.
Your Locked On Sabres, your daily podcast on the Buffalo Sabres. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody, and welcome into this Thursday edition of the Locked On Sabres podcast. And thanks for making us your first listen every day, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. You can check us out on YouTube where you can watch the show, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button there. And as always, you could be on our Locked On Sabres text club. If you'd like, you could sign up for that by heading over to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnSabres. Today's episode is presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Download the FanDuel app right now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Sneaky Joe DiBiase here after a loss to a AHL squad, basically, by the Buffalo Sabres in their fifth preseason game, their second defeat of the preseason, this one coming at home to the Penguins, again, against a bunch of guys that you're probably never going to see play in the National Hockey League. There were a couple of Penguins mixed in throughout, but pretty much it was Wilkes-Barre Scranton that took it to the Sabres. But some positive things to come out of it, some negative things to come out of it. On the positive end, we'll get to that in a little bit. Another strong performance from Josh Norris and a couple of others, but we'll get to that coming up in a little bit. We are 1 week away from the start of the regular season, and I'm starting to look at the Sabres schedule, and I'm looking at like what the first couple of weeks are looking like with this realization that I had today. You know, you could look at the schedule every day and come up with something different, notice something different about it. Today, for me, that was look at the first 2 weeks of the season. From October 9th, so when the season begins, through October 24th, so 15 days, the Sabres play almost everybody in their own division. In the first 2 weeks of the year, they play Boston, Ottawa, Florida, Montreal, Detroit, Toronto, everybody but Tampa. And they don't play Tampa, by the way, for a while. So that one is on the back burner, I guess. They got a lot of backloaded games with the Tampa Bay Lightning. They don't actually play the Lightning until February 3rd. Very oddity in the schedule. I don't even remember if I mentioned that or noticed it when the schedule came out and we talked about this. February 3rd, February 28th, March 8th, April 6th. Those are your Tampa matchups. So you don't play the Lightning for a while. But have you heard me on this division in the last couple of weeks with the Florida injuries and the Bruins being bad? I mean, everybody's talking about the division this way. Tampa's the surest thing in the division, and that's the team you don't see for a long time. Boston, bad. Ottawa, competitive. Florida, injuries. Montreal, regression. Detroit, bad. Toronto, Marner left. Like, you play all those teams early. And if you want to jump out ahead and show that this is going to be a year that the Sabres are competitive in the division, well, there you go. So you get the Rangers in there, you get Colorado in there, and then all division matchups early on for the Buffalo Sabres. The bad thing is, the negative thing is, I don't know what the roster is going to look like for any of these games because yet again, the Buffalo Sabres are picking up injuries left and right. So a lot of updates to get to. We'll spend probably a whole segment of today's show just talking about the goalie situation because the worst news that came out of Wednesday's game was, of course, not that they lost the game. Who cares about that? It was that Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen left the game in the first period with a lower body injury and did not return. That in his first game action at all, recovering from his injury. So really tough, right? Like, it already was a little questionable what the timeline was, and it seemed like we were getting a clearer and clearer picture. Okay, he's back practicing, and now he's ramping up, and he's going to play half a preseason game, and then maybe he'll play the full opener. But now just bang, just all poof goes away, and we're right back to square one where, I don't know, he probably isn't back on Thursday against the Rangers. He could be out a week. He could be out a month. He could need surgery and be out for half the season. I don't know what to tell you on Luukkonen, other than, what Lindy had to say today, which wasn't much. So we'll get to the implications of him re-injuring or aggravating or even it being a new injury. We got some details on that coming up in a little bit, but I want to focus on some of the other injuries that the Sabres are picking up to start today's show. And some of these are new and some of these updates are better than we thought. And some of them are, pretty tough to deal with. I want to start with probably the newest information that we got from Lindy Ruff on Thursday, which is that Michael Kesselring, who might have been the biggest offseason acquisition name power-wise of the Buffalo Sabres, not that he's a star in the league, but he is a big piece of what they wanted to accomplish. They want to be better defensively. They want to have a good top four, and they want a consistently good partner for Owen Power that they've been searching for years. And they got him. They think they got him, right? We got to see him on the ice first. And pretty tough that Lindy said today that Kesselring could miss the season opener, that he aggravated an injury that he had been dealing with throughout training camp and the offseason. So that already is tough that he's been dealing with something that's nagging. You don't love that. And now he's aggravated it. Could miss the season opener. I don't know. I feel like that sounds to me like he's not playing. And here we go. Power's playing with who, right? We'll get into that as the week progresses. Could be Jacob Bryson. It could be Radim Mertka. It could be Samuelsson. It could be anybody. It could be literally anybody. There's no more Henry Jokiharju, which is always who they just stuck with Power over the years. So we'll see what they end up doing, but that's a tough blow if Kesselring can't play on Thursday. So sure, we'll track him as practices progress in the next week and see if he pushes to get into that opening night lineup. But he's a big piece of what they wanted to do this year, and it's tough to hear that news. Good news, I guess, on Zach Benson. He's been dealing with an injury. He'll return to practice in a day or two, so that sounds fine. Bowen Byram's likely going to play in the preseason game on Friday, so that's good news. He's in line to play. Thank goodness, right? Because the blue line was getting really, really thin. Even Power's been dealing with something. Samuelsson. Good old Mattias Samuelsson. All right, well, the guy that I probably least want back of any of the injured players, you don't want him to be hurt, but just not really optimistic about what he's going to do for the Sabres at all this year. He should be ready by the season opener. So I guess that's good, right? Depth, give you as many options as possible. Samuelsson should be ready for the season opener, and Lindy said that he's ahead of schedule, right? Clearly, because he was considered week to week. And this is new. I've not been thinking at all that he would be ready for the Ranger game. And it sounds like that he might be. And this is, by the way, all in addition to Jordan Greenway, probably also going to miss the start of the year, and the Luukkonen injury that we just went through. The Sabres right now have injuries at all three position groups: goalie, forward, and especially blue line. A lot of injuries on that blue line. It could mean Radim Mertka is going to get a couple of games as a look before he either goes back to Rochester or juniors. I mean, they might need him to. It's good Ryan Johnson's been performing at camp. They might need him to play. They're gonna get down to it. It's gonna be pretty thin. I mean, Mason Gearston might even play on the blue line. The grinder goon that we had pegged for the fourth line, but he actually naturally played defense in the NHL, but more so before the NHL, and even he's practiced a little bit there. That, to me, is the one idea they can't possibly do. You can't put the goon guy on the blue line. Hey, Rasmus Dahlin, though, right? That guy's good. That guy's healthy. Knock on wood, that remains. He goes coast to coast last night and reminds you of how special he is. So he's on the ice. Power's on the ice. Byram's on the ice. You do have three of your top four right now. But the other three positions, it's kind of a crapshoot. Other than Connor Timmins. Connor Timmins will be in the lineup, of course, one way or another. So that's what we're looking at. Not good, right? I want to be optimistic. I said it earlier in the week. I am convincing myself. I'm not even convincing myself. Others are convincing me. You should believe it's possible that this team is going to be legitimately good this year. And I started coming around to that, buying in a little bit to what their plan was in the offseason and that they actually do have enough scoring. And that's always been my biggest sticking point. Goalie is the one I'm still having a tough time with. But it's hard to stay that way, stay optimistic when you're missing all these bodies. Now, the good news is a lot of them are short-term. But if you told me that all these guys, or 70% of the guys that are injured right now, are going to miss significant time early in the year. There goes my optimism, just like that, from all these injuries. By the way, I got this text question. I don't think I want to blame Lindy Ruff having a hard training camp as the reason for this. I mean, some of these guys came into camp with nagging injuries. And if you want to blame the old school style of, I mean, how hard he's been pushing them in these camps, go ahead. But I don't know. Fans generally sound like they want that from their coach on this team. So I don't think you can really be upset when the consequence of, hey, you might get a couple more injuries ends up coming to fruition. When we come back, let's get more into the Luukkonen injury, because it's not just Luukkonen being injured. It's what is in line to replace him. And I've got a possible alternative that hasn't been brought up coming up here in the Locked On Sabres podcast. Today's episode of the Locked On Sabres podcast is presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. So hockey is right around the corner. We are less than a week away from the NHL season. Of course, we are a week away from the Sabres season. And get your future bets in now. There's a lot of interesting stuff to look at. And of course, football is here, and football is king. So check it out. FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss right now. New customers can bet just $5, and you get $300 in bonus bets if you win. So right, just pick a bet, put down $5. If it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. Doesn't have to be football, doesn't have to be hockey, it can be the baseball playoffs right now, which you got a lot of great games. This has been an awesome baseball playoff so far. You want to bet on someone, Ohtani to hit a home run, perhaps. Sure, you'll be giving away some odds on that, but you usually end up getting it. So check it out. FanDuel right now, again, first $5 bet. If you're a new customer, you get $300 in bonus bets if you win. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com, download the FanDuel app today, and get started. Sneaky Joe DiBiase back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast, 1 week out from the Sabres season. So last night, Sabres lose to the Penguins 5-3. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen plays the beginning of the game, and he ultimately leaves right after the first period, finished out the first, and did not return with what the Sabres announced was a lower body injury. Now, today, Lindy, when talking about that injury, said that the injury he got yesterday could be different than the one he was dealing with. Again, Luukkonen, there's all this mystery as to what is going on with him. And I don't even want to frame it as the Sabres are hiding something. It sounds, every time they talk about it, it sounds like they legitimately don't know what's wrong, because that was the original messaging. When Kevin Adams did his press conference at the beginning of training camp, he said they did an MRI for Luukkonen and it came back clean, but he's been in pain. So clearly, and then we're trying to figure out what's going on. So he ramps up, he rests, he practices a bit, he plays, bam, here it is again. And again, the messaging is, well, it could be the same thing. But part of that is, part of that sounds like they still don't know what he had before. And maybe I'm wrong on that, but listen, you want to play this game in the NHL where you don't want to give out details of injuries? Well, then this is what happens. I'm left to read the tea leaves and pick up on the clues, and the clues tell me they had no idea what his injury was. They just didn't know. They didn't know what timeline. It's part of why they signed Alex Georgiev. Now, with Luukkonen, reminder that he has a history with injury that is a little bit scary for this situation, because it sounds, talking with Owen Parker from WGR, who we have on the morning show, he's our video producer. He played goalie, obviously, at a high level, junior hockey, NAHL. And he said that the way it sounds about Luukkonen inability to push off the right way, that's when the pain has been, and so forth, that he thinks it sounds like a hip injury. And that seems to be the common sentiment from everybody, is that it sounds like whatever he's dealing with, it's something to do with his hip, at least one of his hips. Reminder, it's been a while, but 6 years ago, before he made the NHL, when he was a prospect and a high-level prospect, in April of 2019, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen had double hip surgery at a very young age. He had double hip surgery. It's been a long time. He's been relatively healthy, I would say, throughout his career. That, I guess, scares me a little bit, hoping that this isn't a long-term issue firing back up for UPL. He's under contract. They are paying him. He is a big part of their plans and goal this year. And that spooks me a little bit, that this could be something that lasts a long time into the season. The other part that is disappointing on this day is not only that he's hurt, it's that the guy they signed to replace him comes in last night and again just looks like he's got no business being one of the Sabres' two goalies in the NHL. I defended the move. I thought this is a reasonable dart to throw. He's been good in the past. Sure, last year was horrific, but take a shot at it, see if he can regain his form. Through everything I've seen, he has not regained his form. There's no sign of that at the moment. So that's poor. Last night, he gives up 3 goals on 13 shots. He's been giving up rebounds in this preseason. He's been, I think, very sloppy with technique. There's plays where it feels like he should be square with the shooter, and he's in a desperation save mode. So I have not been impressed with Alex Georgiev at all. Sure, it's only a couple of preseason games, really small sample, but when it is in line with what you saw last year in the NHL, you're inclined to believe it. So not a fan of what we're seeing from Georgiev right now, but I think he's one of their 2 goalies going into the year. So probably Alex Lyon is going to have to play a lot of the games. It went from for me, hey, Alex Lyon, I'm optimistic that he's going to be their best goalie this year. But that was more comfortable than where we are now, which is he has to be their best goalie. He has to be good. Before, well, Luukkonen's there too. Maybe Luukkonen does it. I got options. Now, Luukkonen out of the picture. Georgiev looks terrible. Levi, we know they don't want to bring up from Rochester. Alex Lyon, it's your show, man. You better save the day. The other, and he might be able to do that, but he might not. And if he's not, then I think the Sabres are in deep, deep trouble. The other idea I did have, and this would be very complicated. Already, yesterday, it was, and I thought this too, like, see, this is why this is awkward. Now we've got 3 goalies. 3 goalies, like, what, this is not good. So this would compound the issue even more. But the Sabres are trying to make the playoffs. And I think they have to pull out all the stops because this position is vital to them being able to make the postseason the way they want to do it. And at the moment, it's a little helter-skelter. I'll say this, if the Sabres believe that Luukkonen's injury is a real risk to be a long-term injury, then they can't stop at Alex Georgiev. They need to go beyond it. Right now, Georgiev isn't showing them that they can just trust these 2 to carry the load going forward. Here's my idea. Toronto signed James Reimer to a PTO, professional tryout agreement. James Reimer is on a PTO. That is not a contract. James Reimer is technically a free agent. He is not under contract with the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's there. He's practicing. He might think he's got a shot at making a spot and getting a deal, but at the moment, he doesn't have one. So, if he was true to his word that he liked it here last year, which is what he said, that he liked the guys, then call him up. See if he's interested. See if he would be interested in being the number 2 or rotate with compete with Georgiev to be Alex Lyon's backup at the beginning of the year. I'd call James Reimer right now because last year wasn't even close. James Reimer was a better goaltender last season than Alex Georgiev was. And not like put up Vezina numbers, right? At the end of the day, it was an .899 save percentage. But we know that he got hot at the end of the year and was the Sabres' best goaltender over the last 2 months of the season. And sure, he's old. He's 37. I don't know if he can go the whole year playing more than 25 games for you. But the last time you saw him, it went pretty well. and he's currently not under contract with the team. And the guy you signed to be your plan B looks bad. So here's your last year plan B that when he had to turn to him, it looked good. Just an idea. Maybe you want to call up James Reimer because we know they don't want to call up Devin Levi. And you don't know that Devin Levi is going to be able to do it anyway. So this is kind of where we're at with goalie. We're just hanging on a limb, waiting for the UPL news, what that injury is. And we'll see what they do if it ends up being a negative update. When we come back, a couple of observations from last night's game and the positive end that weren't just losing to an AHL squad. The top line again, that when we come back here in the Locked On Sabres podcast. Sneaky Joe DiBiase, ready for hockey. I am so ready for hockey. I mean, I'm enjoying the baseball playoffs. I am enjoying, obviously, football on a day in and day out basis. But I'm ready for hockey, and I'm ready for the Sabres to actually get off to a good start and make us feel like they're actually in it at the beginning of the year. By the way, coming up next week, we're going to take a dive on how the Sabres have done during the drought at the beginnings of seasons, and it would be unique to say that they would get off to a good start. But that's coming up next week. So, other observations from last night's loss, 5-3 to the Penguins. The Sabres, I mean, the Dahlin goal stood out. It was the best play of the night, coast to coast. He's awesome, obviously. By the way, how about him playing 27 minutes last night? No holds bar. Just, all right, all in. I might have suggested at the beginning of training camp, hey, maybe preseason you take it easy on Tage and Dahlin because so much is riding on their shoulders. And Lindy's like, nope, we're going to play you half the game. All right. The top line without Zach Benson, Peyton Krebs was on it. Looks really strong. And this is a Lindy thing. Lindy and other coaches too, but Lindy says that he likes keeping duos together and that the other third guy on a line can be rotational. So Benson goes out, and you might have predicted this anyway, but Benson is the rotational piece on that top line. The duo that they are keeping together and building chemistry with is Josh Norris and Tage Thompson. And they played a little bit together in those 3 games last year. Norris and Tage, every game they've played, have looked dangerous together. Any thought that I had that they are both shoot first guys, maybe not the most natural fit. It's the preseason, but in the preseason hasn't looked like that's a problem at all. That Tage is finding Norris. Norris is finding Tage. Last night it was more on the other end that Tage was finding Norris. Great pass from out from behind the net for Norris's second to find him in the slot there. The first goal is just a great individual effort by Norris to catch the lead pass, gets tripped, and then gets back up and goes forehand, backhand, slides it in. Norris has looked great, and here's to hoping he stays healthy. But keep an eye on that Norris and Tage duo. I bet they're going to be together most of the year if Norris stays healthy and if Thompson stays healthy. So that's a good sign because I wasn't sure that they would look great together. Maybe you'd have to go with Tuck and Norris, or maybe you'd have to go with Tage and Kulik like you had last year. But so far, so good on the Norris-Thompson front. What else from this game? Josh Doan. I think Josh Doan looks like he's going to be a real good player for the Buffalo Sabres. I'd like to see a little bit more offense still, but he has better hands and vision than I was expecting. So we'll see if that holds true in the regular season as well. And then finally, Mason Gearston, just one more time. I just need to mention it. He can't be in the opening night roster. He's just so clearly not an NHL player. He's here because he can fight. And it's so old school. It's such a dinosaur way of thinking that, I really hope the Sabres don't do that. Every time he's on the ice, it's not hard to spot him. He's the slowest guy out there. He looks like, he looks like he just doesn't belong. And it's because he doesn't. He's not an NHL player. He's not in the NHL because of any sort of skill. And I don't mind having guys on my fourth line that can fight and that are even heavyweights, but they got to be able to play a little bit. And this guy just doesn't have the ability. You would never put him on a penalty kill situation. You would never put him out there in the third period. You would never want to play him more than 6-7 minutes a night. So what are we doing? How often is he going to fight? How many guys around the league are there that would fight him? But Matt Rempe would fight him. You want to? There. Oh, that's opening night. Crap. Just realizing that as I'm going here. That's opening night. All right, maybe he is going to be in the opening night lineup. You want to fight Matt Rempe? All right, like there's one guy in the league that would fight him. There's not many more. There's not many more heavyweights in the league that are 6'4" plus and are willing to drop the gloves with a guy like him. So even if you want him to fight and to set a tone and to be an enforcer, like there's no spot for it anymore. So I hope that doesn't happen. All right. Next up, Penguins at Pittsburgh. Probably more of an AHL squad. We'll see who they call up for that game. Rodney Murka might get one more look here, and then maybe he gets the regular season, but I think probably not. So his last stand, maybe to earn that, or at least earn a spot in Rochester. That is going to do it for us here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. We have an exciting thing in Locked On NHL right now, the top 100 list for the NHL. I'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow with Rasmus Dahlin and Tage Thompson making the list. Find out where they are. And, of course, Locked On NHL's got a season preview, 6-episode series, best local insights. I was on the Atlantic Division show. Really good time with those guys. So check it out. All what you need is NHL fan heading into the season. Find Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. We'll talk to you after Sabres and Penguins. Here on the Locked On Sabres podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.